people, this is Main Phase here. I'm doing the lockdown signatures, and my first pick is going to be 3 Practical Hits the Spot EP. This is an amazing release, like throughout. 3 tunes, very different. One's the banger, one's the suave, sort of speed garagey one, and the third one's a bit of a curveball, to be fair. But I got this through DJ Shox in Birmingham. He posted it and I was like, I probably need to buy that off you, mate. And he had a spare. And I've been playing that quite a bit, maybe almost too much. Nonetheless, it's a sick tune. 3 sick tunes, to be fair. Yeah. Nice one. So my second pick is Baffled, Speak and Spell. This is one of the first garage releases I ever bought. I think I got this when I was 16, 17, which is like 40 years ago now. So it's 1 original, 1 remix, and then I think an instrumental or dub. Quite a hard-hitting sort of sub-lowy, that perfect spot in between UKG and speed garage, and it's very suave but also hard. This is like the holy grail to me. I remember getting this back in the day and just being like, let me just play this really poorly in the clubs in Copenhagen on shit turntables. So I kind of messed up my copy, but nonetheless it holds great value to me still. Oh yeah, my third pick is probably going to be the white label of Skepta, Duppy. This is one I always pack just in case, you know, I need to throw like a grimy sort of curveball in there. I got it through my mate back home, and it's one of them that's like, oh, thank you for buying my record signed by Skepta. So it's kind of like a cool thing to have. I always bring this just in case 50 minutes into my set I need to throw in something that's not bait, but something that people will know. You always need to gain it up quite high because the pressing is a bit shit, but it's a banging tune. And whenever I play with an MC, I always just flip it and play the instrumental because that's quite like dubstep going into 4/4, grimy, weird. It sits in a weird place, but it's always cool man to draw for that one. So the next one, Mad Flex, Music in Me, and especially the B1 remix by Chronicles. Is one of the most played, I think, in my collection within the first 20-30 minutes of a set. It's got that cool, old school feel to it, where it sits right between house and UK garage, and it's like super tight drums, really nice sort of vocally hook on it. One of them like bouncy UKG sub basses throughout, and the signature Groove Chronicles little steps in there. It's one that I usually will play before going crazy. Definitely a 15-minute in, like a checkpoint tune really. A tune you play when you're like, oh cool, I need to go from somewhere to somewhere else. This is the one you play. I got my copy through this Instagram page actually. It's called something like Rare something Vinyl Finds. So I just remember them posting that one, and I've been looking for it for a while, to be fair. So when I saw the inner label, I was just like, cool, I'll take that before I even heard it. So definitely a prized one in my collection. It's not really super rare, but I think it's hard to come by, you know, nowadays especially. So the 5th one definitely has to be one that my oldest daughter pulled out the thing. I actually just sold like 300-400 copies of vinyl to a Danish shop because I was like, I don't have space for it anymore, and I still buy it, you know. But anyway, it made room for new stuff, right? So when I was cleaning up and selling, my daughter sort of helped me, or not helped me, she kind of ruined it, but she picked out a few and was like, oh, do you want to sell this? Do you want to sell that? And I was like, don't touch it, you know, go play. And she pulled out the Burial and Fortet Moth. And she pulled that out, and I've got quite a sick Burial collection. I've almost got anything he ever put out, both white label and album of course. And that one in particular, I've just rinsed Moth, I think, ever since it came out. I've been listening to it at least once a month. It's probably one of my favorite tunes ever. And she pulled that out and I was like, oh my God, like this is actually, and this was only a month or 2 ago. So ever since then, it's been on when we have dinner. It's been on when I make coffee in the morning. It's been on when we get home from the nursery, my daughter and I and stuff. So it might be one of the best produced tracks I think to ever come out of the UK. It's unreal how it sits in between being almost an ambient piece in the beginning, and then it has that sort of driving 4/4 vibe to it. I've only ever played it out once at a Danish festival quite a few years ago, but as for most of Burial's music, to be fair, it's definitely more for like the night bus, or in Copenhagen that will be the night cycle home, you know? It's just music for people who are by themselves, I think. So my next pick is Soundboy, 42 Gun Bad Boy.
42 Gun Bad Boy.
This is a speed garage white label that's got 2 mixes on it, but they're very similar. It's like a greasy, very, very hard, but also extremely simple speed garage tune. It's got this insanely long drums intro that's so easy to mix in. At the same time, it's got quite a fast drop, and sometimes I think you just need like a rolling tune. A tune you can mix in, it doesn't have to be a big moment or whatever, but it still hits. And this is that exact tune. It's got maybe one of the best freezes, I think, ever in speed garage. No shade to Solmas and all the lot who are doing God's work with freezes. Quite cool how it sounds super old and original. You can play it in basically any set, I think. Yeah, big tune. My next one, I'm gonna have to go back a bit and pay respect to the people that came before me and really paved the way for a lot of the music I like to play. Tom Shorters had a release on Echo. Maybe it was Fucked Up Friday Funk or some weird thing. B-side, Ladies. I think on my version, I've got the white label at home. It just says Ladies, but I think on the official one, it might be Ladies with an Attitude. It's such an easy tune to play. You can play it basically in any part of your set. If you want it to be a banger, it will be a banger. It's got the break, it's got the drop, it's got the signature Shortest organ bit in there. But if you want to play it early on, you can as well. It's one of those tunes where it kind of ends up being about what tune you play before it or after it. That sort of will give it the momentum it needs in that particular part of your DJ set. For me, it's definitely the peak time tune. Super tight, very Birmingham-y, organ housey drums, an instant classic. It's one of the tunes I always come back to when I produce as well. Some of my newer organ bits, like the release coming on Locked On, I always look to the way that some of the Birmingham lot did it before me, because it's always so simple. You don't need 1,000 elements. You just need good bass line, sick organ on top, cheeky sample and drums. Obviously for a main face tune you would need quite a few FX and then siren bleeps and blobs and whatnot. Apart from that, you can actually make a tune quite simple and still banging, you know. So the B-side on this, Ladies with an Attitude, is, in my opinion, maybe even Tom Shorter's best tune ever, you know. Yeah, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna say it's his best tune ever. Big up Tom Shorters for paving the way for fun in the dance. For the next one, I definitely have to go for a Paul Sirrell tune. And it's so hard to pick, you know. I've got quite a few of his releases now, both on Rainbow, Echo and all that. But I think Paul Sirrell has had the biggest impact on a lot of us that produce and play speed garage with a nod to the past. There's quite a few doing it now where I think it's sounding very new gen. At the same time, there's a few of us that also like to look back and try to, you know, in a weird way, make a new tune that sounds old. And it's very hard to pick between all Paul Sirrell's releases because they're all just absolutely mental. I don't know if it's the only one he did that's just called the Paul Sirrell EP, but he did one on Rainbow. It's got a B-side on it that's called Take Control.
Take control of me.
And it's got organ, it's got warps, it's got massive break, it's got the cheekiness of his productions. I mentioned earlier there was like a serious Reese speed garage tune. This is not serious, this is banter music. I think Paul Sirrell is the best producer of all time when it comes to organs and warps and simplicity. You can tell he knows what he's doing and he can just work wonders with so few elements. And I kind of keep coming back to this less is more approach, but I think for me it's just about don't overdo it. Just do what works, you know. And he definitely does that to a degree where it's like unreal sometimes. Yeah, hard to pick from any Paul Sirrell's back cat. It's so good. You're my hero. No. For the final one, I'm gonna have to pick a Locked On one. This is the repress of LB Inducement Digital. This is one I borrowed here, you know, because I've got the pink one. But Digital for me is the best two-step tune LB has ever made. The darkness of LB and the whole vibe around the swing, the hit, the whole arrangement. I mean, he's obviously a genius when it comes to two-step and so forward-thinking for his time. And still one of the people I think people actually, you know, myself included, will look at being like, wow, you know. And I'm not saying two-step is harder to make than 4/4, but I think the atmosphere of certain older two-step tunes is harder to hit. The darkness and atmosphere of LB's work, especially on Digital, where Juiceman is just absolutely killing it. LB had that time where he did Buckenbury and all these very sub-low, not necessarily I think meant for mega rave, more like for in between a scatty tunnel party and a dark room somewhere smoky in London or whatever. Classic LB in it, it's like, it's swinging a bit too much for me to actually play this. But no, this one is perfect. Especially back in the day, I would play this tune in almost every UKG set I played. LB did a lot for the scene, but he still does, because people still look at his drums. Massive, massive release. This was Main Phase, the Big Dad of UKG. Thanks for tuning in for the Locked On signatures, and stream my new AB single with Locked On. Grinding, can't cool with them. Suave organ bangers. Ready for most sets out there, I reckon. Big up.